Welcome back to Speak Pact. Today we are going to dive into the world of serious speaking. I have Ryan Estis with me today, and he is co-founder of Impact 11. If you haven't heard of Impact 11, I don't know where you've been. It is definitely a serious tool for a serious business in the speaking industry. So, we're going to dive into some of his strategies and his insights and what brought him to even wanting to co-create this space for speakers. So I'll go more into his resume in a bit, but first I just want to welcome you to the stage, Ryan.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to be here. I'm looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this.
We're going to have some fun. We're going to unveil some secrets for our people, right?
That's the plan. Absolutely.
All right, so you have a long bio. Let's touch on some of the things and then we'll organically unpack some of it. So
Sure.
you are a globally recognized sales expert and with no apologies, which I love about you. You go out there with boldness, with confidence, and you sell as a way of serving. And I think that there's some real keys in that. So I'd like to maybe dive into that because every speaker is selling whether they like to admit
Right.
it or not, right? So we'll talk about that a little bit.
I love it.
Um, as we said, you're co-founder of Impact 11. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And you were recently recognized by the Meetings and Convention magazine, which I'm very familiar with. I was a producer for years before I was
Oh,
an
wow.
agent. So they've been around a long time, and that's a
Yeah.
pretty honor to be for you to be featured by them. You are Fortune 500 Chief Revenue Officer, so you've got some busyness going on. Tell me a little bit about what's your main focus? What's a day in the life of Ryan, and where does Impact 11 fit into all of that?
Yeah. So to be clear, I'm a former Fortune 500 chief
Okay,
revenue
there you go. I'm
officer. So
thinking you
that is
say
not current. That was another life before I started my own business. And
right.
so my a day in the life, probably like a lot of people in the audience, I'm building a speaking practice and we run it like a business. I have a team, and I think this is my third or fourth call today. I'm home today, which is unusual. Next week I have 4 events, so I'll be on the road delivering content and expertise. And when I'm home, I'm working. Either say I'm working in the business or on the business, and so, but we'll deliver 75 live events this year. We have a pretty significant commitment to content marketing and thought leadership expertise across our platform and a variety of platforms. Sales and marketing is a big piece of the work product that we do. We have a whole ecosystem of vendors that we manage, running a P&L just like I did at a Fortune 500 company. And we create thought leadership, so my body of work continues to grow. We published a book last year, so that's what the practice looks like. And then we have the other venture that you mentioned, Impact 11, which I am one of the founders of. I have 3 partners, also thought leaders, expert speakers in their own right. And we contribute time, energy, effort to building that community of thought leaders and providing support so they can accelerate momentum. And together as a collective, we believe we're delivering exponential impact. We're sending 350 plus. You mentioned it's growing. I think we'll be at over 500 members by the end of the year. And together that group of extraordinary humans is taking their collective ideas, inspiration, and voice out into the world to make the world of work a better place. So I'm very passionate about that community. It's helped me in many ways, personally, professionally, and it's just an incredible group of humans. So that's how I spend my days. And hopefully that leaves a little bit of time for friends, family, self-care, exercise, and the things that I enjoy in my life. But it's a fulfilling way to spend my time. I love this work. So
And it shows. So tell me, how did you go from senior level management to caring about getting onto stages? Like, what was the bridge that got you to that place?
well, I think you mentioned an important word. So caring about. And so what I cared about, and I think what became the most intrinsically rewarding part of being a chief revenue officer wasn't the deals I was doing or making sales or being an executive. It was the impact I had on the people on my team. When I was able to watch, a new employee come and rise in our sales organization, take additional responsibility, grow in their life, I always have felt like that was the most important aspects of my job. And then serving our customers too. And we help clients get a meaningful result, grow their business, accelerate momentum through our ideas, partnership, and collaboration. So I've always been called to serve in that way. And as part of that job, uh, I was doing some industry thought leadership. And speaking was a part of that. Now, I want to be clear, it wasn't for commercial reasons and it wasn't expanded the way it is today. But I did become, in some ways, the face of the company, where I would go to industry conferences, events, present case studies, best practices, strategies, sit on panels. And those were the days I started to look forward to the most. And I started to get better at doing it. I started to enjoy doing it. I found it to be rewarding. And and then, lo and behold, I'd go do one of these events, and then the company would get 2 or 3 phone calls. "Hey, we saw this guy. Can he come and speak at this?" Or, "How much is this?" And I was like, "What is this?" I had that's not why I was doing it. And I thought, "Man, maybe I'm onto something here." And I was always a big student of self-help and professional growth, all the way back to books on tape, and then going to seminars and events, and then with the internet, of course, podcasts and YouTube. And I was just always learning. I was a professional student. I think both my parents were school teachers, so maybe it was ingrained in me. But that was an inflection point. That was a sort of a moment where it was like, wow, there's maybe something calling you in a new direction. And so I conducted a research project. I hired a professional coach, and I spent 2 years really studying the industry of being an expert. And through getting a trial run at my company, and then formulating a thesis on what it took to build a thought leadership practice, I felt confident to make a move. And so I completely reinvented myself, left my company, left my industry, took my laptop home to the kitchen table, and started anew.
So how did you break in those first few engagements outside of your organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say three keys that I followed, and this won't be everybody's path, but they were instrumental to me. So the first key was I immediately started leveraging both professional and personal networks. Day one, I had a launch plan. Within 30 days. I had a website, I had a CRM, I had a sales strategy. And so, I because of being in an industry for 15 years, I had contacts and relationships and people that I could call, former clients. And so that was the first iteration of outreach. Was I would call it my professional and personal network. So it was people that I had done business with, people that knew me, people that respected me, people I had relationships with, trade associations we had worked with, places that I had previously delivered a presentation in my job. Now I was coming back as an independent, as Ryan Estis. And I was able to get a little traction there. Then my personal network, from, cousins and my brother and friends from college and guys on my men's rec basketball team. I mean, there was, energy around. If I have a period of time to make this work, and if I don't make it work, I'm going to go back and get another job. That was a very clear, specific strategy and plan. And so this is my window, and I'm not going to sit back and wait for it to happen. I'm going to create the demand in the market. And I think that's really, really important. And then I always had this little formula. This may be useful to the listeners too. In my mind, the formula that I used was one equals one more plus TAU equals a growing practice. And I'll explain that. So my belief system was, every time I speak, I earn an opportunity to speak. That needs to earn another opportunity. It's somebody in the audience. It's the client bringing me back to speak to another division. It's somebody who knows somebody that's willing to refer me. It's that client who appreciates the work I did, telling somebody else they know about me, sending me to their previous, whatever it is. I felt like I, as the product, had to be good enough and professional enough to turn one opportunity into the next opportunity.
Mhm.
The TAU stands for Target Account Universe. And so, in concert with the work I was doing on the stage to generate the next opportunity. And by the way, and if I wasn't, then it was like, okay, you need to go back and work on your craft. You're not good enough during the next opportunity yet. And I was very honest with myself about that. It's one thing if somebody, when you come off the stage, if someone says, "Oh, that was a great job. Thank you so much." It's another level if they said, "That was so great. And I can't wait to tell so and so about what you just did."
Mm,
There are two levels of recognition. One is gratitude, the other drives business growth. And
mm.
I wanted to hit that second benchmark every time. So I took a lot of work on my skills. I wasn't great out of the gate. I don't even know if I'm great today. I'm constantly getting better. The second thing, the TAU, that's a target account universe. And so that's sort of, we identified opportunities based on our relationships where we thought my value exchange would be beneficial. And so we would initiate in a program of outreach to those people. And very quickly out of my job, and this is a little unique about me, I hired my first employee. Now people say, okay, well, was it a content marketer? Was it a video editor? Was it an assistant? No, it was the best salesperson that ever worked for me at corporate,
Mhm.
because that created exponential commercial success right away. She devoted her time to me 8 hours a day. We built this business together in lockstep. While I was out delivering content, she was working that TAU, working the website, working our marketing. And I know people often start a practice and they wait forever to do that, and was like, how did you afford that? Well, I pulled money out of my savings and I said, this is how long I have to do this, but I'm going to give myself the best chance at success. And, because I ran a sales organization, I knew her, I trusted her, I knew how good she was. And I thought, wow, if I have her on the team, we're going to grow this faster. And we did.
You took just right out of the gate a very proactive approach to being serious about a serious speaking business. And every single day I encounter incredible minds, incredible experts who say they want that speaker life, right? That to be the focus of their business model and their revenue model, but they still treat it like this side thing, this kind of side gig. And you didn't. You took the bull. You just went whoosh,
Well,
which I really, really admire.
yeah, I think you're touching on something that is so wise. And so I have a couple of axioms about that perspective. So first, I'll dispel a very common myth. If I build it, they will come. Wrong. Wrong.
Yes.
It's just you can write a New York Times. I can't tell you the number of New York Times bestselling authors that I've had on a Zoom that have said, "How can I book a speech? What am I doing wrong?" Just because you wrote a great book or you have a great perspective or an inspirational life story or body of work or a great video on the internet or a great podcast doesn't mean the world is going to fall. We have to dispel that notion. Um, you have to create the demand in the marketplace. There are exceptions, super famous people that, if Mark Zuckerberg decides to be a keynote speaker, if Barack Obama writes a book, yeah, I'm not a president. I'm just a guy in Minnesota who had a big sales job. So I have to create the marketplace for myself. The second thing I think you said is really important. You have to run this business like it's a business. So we run my speaking practice like we ran our Fortune 500 company. We have a P&L, we have a dashboard, we have analytics, we have vendor reviews, we have briefing calls. We treat it, we have a very clearly defined 1-year strategy. We have milestones. This is a business. And by the way, it is a competitive one. So
Mhm.
you talked about all the great minds that you meet that kind of run it as a side hustle. Well, you're competing against those great minds. And it's not lost on me. Every time I stand on the stage, somebody else would do it for less money. That's just as smart and talented as I am. So
Yeah.
you have to earn those opportunities. And I do think it's okay everybody comes at this in a different situation, right? So it is okay to dual track something. So I have a job, but I'm working on my side hustle. But you have to treat the side hustle like a business. It's okay to be working on your day job and then building the startup plan, the launch plan of another business. And you manage those things in concert. But to think, hey, I wrote a book and I put a website up and I'm really talented, so I'm going to have a good speaking business is a gigantic myth. It's so competitive. And so, every day we have a whole team of people that are working on this for 9 or 10 hours to build my practice. And that's just my core team. We have a dozen other vendor partners that are building decks and strategies and analyzing SEO and optimizing our blog. We treat it that way. And I did from the beginning. Now I have a business background. I had a sales background, but I thought very quickly, we're going to treat this just like I treated running the commercial engine of a Fortune 500 company. And we have. And I think that's as critical to any success we've had as what I do on the stage.
Oh gosh, we are so singing the same we are singing the same song, Ryan, and we did not we were going to maybe have a pre-meeting, but we didn't. We just dove right in, and I'm so thankful that we're on the same page here because I have a backstory. Hopefully, I'll get to share with you one day, but a lot of my audience knows why I have such a passion for those hidden gem voices that are throughout the world with those hard-earned solutions to go global, to get their voices out there. And they're not going to do it sitting on some bureau alone or even with a decent agent. That alone isn't going to be good enough. It's going to take massive action and proactivity and investment. And as a man who just gave up his job and wasn't sure if this speaking thing was going to work, for you to have the foresight to invest in yourself and invest in someone who could come alongside and get you to where you needed to go was a message I really, really hope drives home to the Speak Packed audience. We don't take on any speakers who are unwilling to hire an assistant, even if it's just a part-time assistant.
Yeah, it can be a barrier. The investment. My thesis is invest ahead of the curve. So that's sort of become our philosophy. So it's invest for where you're going 2 to 3 years from now, not where you not don't invest to solve the today problem. Invest to build the compelling vision of the future that you have. That's just giving me the best opportunity for success. Maybe I wouldn't have succeeded. Maybe I would have had to go get back a job in 3 years. But you know what? I didn't want to say, well, I didn't give it everything I had. I probably should have hired a couple people and I didn't. And, I didn't have a coach and I didn't take it seriously. No, this was my shot and my dream. So if I'm taking the dream off the shelf and taking my one shot, this is everything. It became an obsession. And I wanted to, if I didn't make it, I wanted to be able to look myself in the mirror and say, it wasn't because you didn't do everything you could have done. And so I made a list. What's everything I could do? What's every single conceivable thing I could do to give myself the best chance of success? That was one list. Here was the other list. What are the things I know I need to stop doing to give myself the adequate time and resources to do this?
Ooh.
Quick story around that, my quit list. So when I quit my job to do this, I was a pretty avid golfer. I loved golf. I played every weekend with the same three guys. And, it was just a way to get out in nature and socialize. And they were good friends of mine. But golf is also a time-consuming sport, and it's expensive. If we played 2 rounds over the weekend, you spend a couple $100, then maybe you get lunch afterwards, and you're out $300, and maybe we did a little gambling on the golf course, and if I didn't win, or whatever, nothing big, but whatever. And but less the money was the time, because now I'm 2 rounds of golf a week, 5-6 hours each, plus I go to the range and hit balls at night. Well, you're talking about 12 to 15 hours a week. I needed that time. So I made a rule: no golf. Done. The day I started was the day I quit golf. I've written about this, why I quit golf. And
Mm.
that was, but I look, people that get to do this for a living, it's the greatest life experience. It's the way I want to live my life. You said the dream, they want the life. What do I have to sacrifice to earn that life? I believed it had to be earned. And so golf was one of those things that I was willing to say. By the way, this was for a season. I didn't plan on giving it up forever, but for year one, to get everything into this, I can give up golf for a season. But here's the funny part of the story. As a reminder to myself that this business will always take investment and sacrifice, I've never played a round of golf since that day.
Ooh.
My brother plays all the time. I have friends that play, and I have a golf club sitting over there in the corner to remind me that if you want this, it takes that level of investment. Now, I'm not, I have balance in my life. I have great friends. I don't, I make sure to take care of myself and enjoy my life. I'm not a workaholic, but I am reminded that this is a competitive business. And every time I stand on stage, I've earned the right to be
Well, and as a result, you have that life that you want right now and the life that you're working towards later, but you are also impacting countless lives through your own voice and through the
there. Thank
voices you
you.
help to impact others. So what an incredible journey. I love your story. And there were so many gems in that, but one thing I do want to highlight is everything you shared with us. It makes it very obvious that this wasn't luck. This didn't just happen. It wasn't, oh, good for you, Ryan, that you get to live this life. It was a conscious decision with real investments, real risks, and real diligence. You
Thank you.
you made some choices. You made it happen. You were not sitting back waiting for somebody else to make it happen for you.
No, I have a lot of wonderful relationships in this industry, both that we've cultivated on my team and I, and then through Impact 11, of course. And I have wonderful bureau partners and agent relationships. But I don't count. I tell my team this: no one's coming. Yeah, I know we had 7 bureau inquiries last week. That was a moment of fortune. Icing on the cake. We have to bake our own cake. We have to have the agency and the impetus to create what we want in this business. And if we approach it with that philosophy, and then the world cooperates in at moments, great. That's fortunate. And in other moments where the world doesn't cooperate, we should have the confidence and the conviction that we can do this ourselves.
Mhm.
And you can't outsource the core of your ability to build your business. And yeah, so the nobody's coming for it's us. We're doing this. That's always been my philosophy.
So you were already an expert in sales and you had an expert colleague in sales that you had the foresight to bring in. What role do you feel sales has played in your success as a speaker? When you're on stage, when you're winning the stage, every step of that journey, when you're multiplying the stage. I do want to dive in next after this. Don't let me
Sure.
forget about how you multiply those stages.
Yeah, so I think the sales background is beneficial in sort of 3 areas of the business. Number one, a big part of this work is getting the opportunity to have the impact that's on our hearts, right? I want to stand on a stage to serve and share my ideas with an audience. Well, first I have to create and earn the opportunity to do that. That's a sales strategy.
Hmm.
And so my background and commercial expertise has been valuable applied to this new industry. So, we we have a CRM, we have a TAU, we have analytics, we have a weekly dashboard. We're running a sales organization. So I've applied all of those lessons to this, and that's been useful. Then the second thing that I think is valuable is, I'm I I am a speaker, but really what I am, to be honest, is an expert who speaks. So every organization I go into, whether it's a Fortune 500 or a mid-category enterprise or a startup, I've had the CRO's job. I did that job. I've sat in that role. I ran our sales conferences. I built a commercial team, so I've done that. I know it, and I'm doing it today. I'm contributing it today. At Impact 11, that's a startup. We're scaling an enterprise, so we have sales reps and a go-to-market strategy and a budget, and so I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm a business expert who packages and shares my ideas. And so I think there's a relatability and an authenticity. I'm not somebody that's an academic or just research this. I live this work. I can talk about the sales call I did 2 hours ago. I'm in it every day. And I have a team that I'm inspiring and building and developing every day. And then, of course, I think, sort of your question about how do we expand opportunities? We have a very specific thoughts on our expansion game plan. And so we are very effective at turning the transaction into a strategic partnership. And we
Mm.
view all of these relationships through the lens of value exchange. And that value exchange should be ongoing for the right customers. And so I always say that the keynote is the beginning of our journey together and not the end. And I don't view those as transactions. I view those as opportunities for partnership.
Oh, I love that, and I actually thought I came up with that sentence, so thank you, Ryan. Ryan, I love that. That every talk is the first step in a journey, and
Yeah.
it should be. Nobody's paying for your hour. They're paying for the decades that it took you to get to where you are and those solutions that you bring to them.
I say that. See, you just took this is like we got. You know what I say? Nobody pays us for the hour. They pay us for the value we bring to the hour.
Mm,
That's your
mm.
fee is the value exchange.
There you go. There you go. When you very first starting out, let's talk to that
Sure.
maybe they were a high performer in an industry and now they really like you figured like, haha, I think I like this speaking thing. Maybe there's something
Yeah.
to it. You remember that? Oh, you're probably too young. But there was this commercial. How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie
I
Pop?
remember that. Yeah, the Tootsie Pop. Yeah, yeah,
How many pitches does it take to break into the industry?
yeah. I don't know if there's a number because I would say that the break in and the success is incremental and sideways. And so you can think, hey, that's a breakthrough, or hey, now I'm in. But you have to earn it and re-earn it every single day. And so I never thought that there was a pitch or a moment where I'd made it. I always think, we get toward the end of the year. I always joke with Lynn, my business manager. I'm like, well, I think we can get I think we get to do this again next year too. Because it's like that's the way, we're going to play another year. We get to go another round. And so I've always looked at it that way. It's like, well, I don't have to quit and go back and get a job. I get to keep doing this fun thing. So I always feel like that. Like it's like Christmas Eve all every year. Like for me, I can't believe I get to keep doing this. But I was pitching, and maybe I always am, and maybe that's the sales professional in me. But think about this, like my own brother, Chad, has hired me 7 times. So we're at Thanksgiving, and I'm like, "Hey, you working on anything? Like, what do you got coming?" It's like it never stops, and so it's 9 friends of mine from college have hired me to give keynotes in their companies. So I have networks and relationships and communities and friends and former clients and current clients and clients that hired me 10 years ago that were at another job. And so all of those pitches combined, and we have bureau partners and trips we've taken and speeches we've gone on and events we've done together and the whole Impact 11 community. And so all of that cumulatively continues to create the pitches that build the practice. And I was never a believer in, I'm going to speak at a Tony Robbins event. So that's going to be it. Now I'm validated. Oh, I went on Dave Asprey's Bulletproof Radio podcast. So I'm doing this event with Gary Vaynerchuk. So all of those things have
A
happened to me.
TEDx, right?
Yeah, all of those things have happened to me. Oh, I'm doing this. Simon Sinek and I are doing this 1-day leadership conference. We did that. Those were just moments in time. They weren't solidification of a permanent place in anything. So we subscribe to the philosophy. It is a beautiful gift that we get to stand on these stages and serve. Words and ideas delivered with passion and precision change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. And we earn that right every single day. That's our philosophy.
Such a critical point. You drove it home in such an impassioned way that I hope that those who really want to have a serious speaking business who are listening to the show, which is probably most of them, will camp out there, camp out right there. It's an ecosystem, right? It's not a one off. It's not one great agent, one great opportunity. And give us a break too. As an agent, it's like you're putting it all on me. Yes, we're going to do a lot, but we need to work together. No, I don't want to do those entry level engagements. Well, if that level engagement is going to put you in front of 50 decision makers, it's a really powerful engagement. There's so many things to do. If investing in something like Impact 11, Talkadot, these other services, my gigs engine, right, to make sure that you're getting pitched 400 plus times every single month. If you're going to be serious, and it's not going to be one thing that's going to really be the one end all be all. It's the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, we view our agents as clients. I'm the talent. You're the client relationship manager. It's your client I'm serving, not mine. I'm the conduit. My job is to honor the opportunity you've presented me for, and I should be grateful for that and have no expectation. And the best thing I can do is honor you, honor the client, do a great job, create more work, and then if you're called to recommend me again, great. And if you don't, that's your business and your choice. Like there's no expectation that someone's going to do this for me. I just so whether I'm working with a customer directly, an enterprise directly, or I'm working with an agent, that's my client. We serve those clients passionately. My job is to help you get more of what you want. It's not about me. I'm just the talent.
Key. Key. Okay, definitely by this time in the show, there are a good number of people who want to know, who is this Ryan Estes and what is this Impact 11 and how do we find you?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit about Impact 11. So Impact 11 it's a speaker development enterprise. I like to think of it as a thought leadership accelerator. So it really serves people like your audience who are building a body of work, thought leadership. They want to monetize their expertise and build momentum in their speaking practice. So it's a professional development community. To be clear, we aren't agents. We don't book speakers. There's no commercial
That's why
exchange.
we work so well together.
Correct. Yeah, it's all about the development. And I really believe this. We're better together. Before I quit my job in corporate, I hired a coach. I studied this for 2 years. I've never not had a business coach. I have one now, even though I'm part of Impact 11, and I always will because I'm investing in the product of me. I'm the product, and we want to continue to iterate, evolve, and innovate the product. Impact 11 is the community where we do that. And, let's face it, I mean, you and I have been doing this for a while. We know this business, but it is a unique and complex one off business. It's really unlike almost anything else when you're the product. I mean, maybe comedians could understand it or solo musicians, but it's a very unique business. But so it's beautiful to be in community with 350 plus and growing other people that are like you. And people have developed partnerships and reciprocal referral exchanges. And the industry supports Impact 11. So there is distribution access. So we always have 7 or 8 agents at every one of our events. We do panels, we tap into those relationships, we do showcases where agents come and we'll have 6 speakers and they present a version of their keynote and then everybody goes to dinner. So you're really fueling both your growth, your development, your playbook. And it's not just the stage skills. And I want to be clear about that. It's the entire ecosystem. So for somebody that has a beautiful life story or they're former military or a retired professional athlete that has an inspiring message, but doesn't know how to run a business, Impact 11 is a great place to come and learn that side of the craft.
Mm.
And it was really born, to be honest, the 4 founding partners out of something that was missing in our professional lives.
Mm.
We created the community we didn't have. And at first it was the 4 of us in this little mastermind, but we had the operating thesis that, well, if the 4 of us needed this, don't you think other people in our position would benefit from this? Because people don't tell you this on the way up, but as you start to have some success and you grow your business, it's isolating. You're alone in your mind a lot. It's such a juxtaposition. You're on stage in front of 1,000 people. There's all this, and then you're, in alone in the Marriott having dinner by room service by yourself in the silence of preparing by yourself for the next thing. And that's can be a very challenging thing to navigate. Plus, I probably spend 100 nights plus a year in hotels. That's a third of my life on the road by myself. So having that professional support system, plus some balance in my life and good relationships personally, creates a situation where I can deliver the impact I'm called to deliver. And it's been such a blessing. And it's a room full of people that are doing this for a living, wonderful human beings with inspiring messages on their hearts that want to create impact in the world.
I love that you said that you created the community that you were lacking. You brought together 4 of you friends, right? And really created something that is now well beyond you.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is the energy you have brought to this show is just a tiny little glimpse into the energy. If you wanna get energized about your speaking
Yeah.
career, Impact 11 is a really great place to do that, and I don't get to co you're I'm not your salesperson. I don't get a commission, anything along those lines. It really is a unique model, and I love that you said it's getting you the relationship. So this industry is all about relationships. So it's getting you those relationships. You're getting to learn from other people's mistakes, other people's triumphs, and then also hone your own craft, which is so important. And then you can go and find somebody like me who's going to make sure that you have all the business systems and that you're pitched hundreds of times a month. Like you make my job a whole lot easier if you come off of the heels of investing in yourself and making sure you've got that messaging down and that you unique value proposition down and all the good things. Love what you're
Yeah.
doing, Ryan.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's been a great ride, and I'm excited about the future. It continues to grow, and you're right. It has nothing. I'm just a community member. I go and learn and meet our ecosystem of vendors and try things. Just I'm a student, and that's where I go to learn.
Fabulous. So as we close, outside of checking out Impact 11, and I'm assuming is that impact11.com,
ImpactEleven.com. Yeah.
spelled out. Yep. And then Ryan Estis, Estis.
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. Uh, what is, if you could go back to speak to the Ryan who had just quit his job, opened up his computer, and decided, the next steps he was going to do, maybe it was something that you did that was right. What do you think if I didn't do this one thing, I would not be where I am today?
I did a lot of things wrong and would give myself all kinds of advice about the mistakes that I know better than to make now. But the one thing I really did right was, and it's sort of a combined idea. We talked a little bit about it, was I treated the business like a business with the respect, investment, and consideration and the seriousness that I think it was required to build a successful, sustainable business. And that included surrounding myself with team.
Mhm.
Having Lynn on my team, having Jane, my first coach. I've had many other coaches, even my coach now, Otis. The Because I'm the product and I'm out there alone so much, having mentorship, sounding board, people that I trust and care about and respect. I did not build it. It may seem like I'm alone on the stage, but I'm not. And that was, had I not done that, I don't know that I would have made it, to be
Mhm.
honest.
Realizing you weren't going to be an island on your own, right? You needed to strategically pull those people in to collectively get you where you wanted to go, and them too, right along.
Yeah, we went on this journey together and we've all benefited and it's been extraordinary.
Okay, this has been an incredible interview. I could talk with you for hours. Ryan, you're a wealth of knowledge, but you're also have just an incredible energy. So thank you for bringing yourself to
My
the Speak
pleasure.
Packed audience today.
Yeah, and thank you for what you're doing. I think, platforms like this serve people that have service on their heart. And I think professional speakers, they're so well intended and oriented towards this call to impact others in a positive way. And so providing places people can go to get the information to serve is a beautiful gift to humanity. And so thank you for the contribution you're making.
We're aligned. Your
Yeah,
Impact 11. I'm Speak Packed. Of course, WPC Speakers Global is our agency, but there is something to be said with recognizing the power that your voice, my voice, can make when we're on this journey together to make the greatest impact that we can through the power of our voice. You can reach people I'll never be able to reach because they can't relate to me for whatever reason. I can reach people that maybe you can't reach. We all
100%.
have to embrace our our own power of impact and don't let anything stop you. Don't let anything tell you no, it can't be done, right?
Beautiful.
Lots and lots of fun. If you would like to give Ryan and me some flowers today, post this forward. I know you got value out of this. So be generous and make sure that those people in your sphere are also impacted by our talk today. We thank you for being with us. Ciao ciao for now.